Hello and welcome to the Snowflake session on how to create and manage roles. In today's lesson, we'll learn how to create and manage roles. We'll also learn what are the default roles that Snowflake creates for your account. And then we'll also learn how roles can be used to control the access to different database objects within your account. So let's get started. Okay, so Snowflake implements a very robust access control mechanism. It is called as role-based access control. This means that all the privileges to different database objects should be assigned to roles. We cannot assign privileges to different objects to a user directly. So we assign them to roles, and the roles can then be assigned to different users. So one role can be assigned to multiple users, and one user can have multiple roles assigned to them. In a similar way, roles can also be assigned to another role, creating a hierarchy of role. Now, when you create a new Snowflake account, Snowflake creates a few by default roles. So now let's take a look at what those roles are and what the responsibilities of those roles are. Okay, so account admin is the most powerful role in your Snowflake account. So generally, this role is used to perform account level activities like uh, configuring the account level parameters, um, checking your Snowflake billing data, checking the credit information, and so on. And this role should not be used for any other purposes other than the one I mentioned. The next one is the security admin. This role is used to grant or revoke accesses on the database objects. The sysadmin is used to create or manage database objects like database schema, tables, views, and so on. User admin is used to create and manage users and roles. So, apart from the designated responsibilities, these roles should not be used for any other purpose, which is very important. Uh, Now, let's move on to the next topic where we'll actually go and create new roles and we'll see how to manage these roles. Okay, now let's move on to the hands-on section where we'll be creating new roles and we'll also be granting a few privileges to these roles. And we'll also be creating a couple of new database objects like database schema and table. And we'll see how we can grant privileges to these new roles on these database objects. So let's get started. So now before we create a new role, we will have to assume a user admin role. This is the best practice. So let's use role user admin. So I have now executed this statement. So now let's create two new roles called as my prod role and my dev role. Remember that create or replace syntax indicates that if a object already exists, then it will be dropped and recreated if you use this or replace syntax. Now let's run some grant statements on these roles. So before we do that, we have to assume the security admin role. So let's do that now. Okay, so the next statement is grant role my dev role to role my prod role. What this means is that we'll be granting my dev role to my prod role. So this means that whatever privileges we have granted or will be granting in future to my dev role will be automatically granted to my prod role as well. We'll see with this in example very soon. So let's run this statement now. So that's done. Now, since I'm logged into Snowflake using byte skills, in order for me to use these two roles, I first need to assign these roles to user byte skills. So let me run these statements. So that's done. Now, if you want to drop a role, you can run drop role and then role name. So I'll just run these statements to show you how it works. So the roles have now been dropped. Remember that we'll have to again switch back to user admin role in order to drop the roles. So I'll just rerun the previous statements again to reinstate these roles. So let me run these statements again. So that's done. Now let's create a new database and a new schema inside this database. So to create any database objects, we have to use sysadmin role. So let's switch to sysadmin role now. So that's done. Now let's create a new database, my Snowflake tutorial. That's done. Now, in order for us to create a new schema inside this database, we'll first have to switch to my Snowflake tutorial. So let's run this statement, use database my Snowflake tutorial. And now let's create a new schema, edu, inside this database. So that's done. Now let's grant a couple of privileges to my dev role. So, so we are going to actually create a new table inside the edu schema using my dev role. So before we grant the create table statement to my dev role, we'll first have to grant usage on the database, this new database to my dev role, as well as we'll have to grant the usage on the schema as well in this database. So before we do that, let's again move back to security admin role. And now I'm granting usage on the database, my Snowflake tutorial to my dev role. Remember that this is the least privilege that we need before you get started on granting any kind of additional privileges on a database or schema or all the objects within those schemas. So remember that the usage is the basic, the least one that we need. Now let's run these statements. And now we'll grant the create table statement. So I'm just granting it inside all the schemas in database, my Snowflake tutorial to my dev role. So this privilege will allow the my dev role to create a table inside the all the schemas in this database. Now I'll use the my dev role. Okay, so I'm inside the my dev role now. Now let's go and create a new table in the edu schema. Okay, the table is now created. Now, this is a good example of hierarchical roles. Remember that we have granted all the privileges to my dev role so far. We are not granted any privilege on this database or schema to my prod role. Now, let's switch back to my prod role. Now, let's run this statement. So the statement works perfectly. And although we have not granted any privileges to my dev role, my prod role separately, I'm still able to perform a select star on this table. And that's because the my dev role has been assigned to my prod role. And this is an example of hierarchical roles. Although none of the accesses have been granted to my prod role, because my dev role has been granted to my prod role, I'm able to run this statement without any issues. So let me know if you have any questions on this. Feel free to comment inside the comment box, and I'll see you in the next session. Thanks for watching.